G'day beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at Grim. We're going to be looking at his stats, his scaling, and my build guide for him, talking about some numbers, talking about whether he's viable. So sit back, relax, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed already, but with that said, let's get started. Okay, so looking straight away at his stats, 8 for basic attack, 5 for ability attack, a 3 for durability, and a 1 for mobility. His health, like all ranges, is 475 to start off with. You get 64 per level, he ends up at 1371. His health regen starts at 1.2 and ends up at 4.1. As far as armor goes, both his armor and his ability armor both end up the same as all ranges get. 18 to 46 and 20 to 35, but where he's different from everyone else is his mana. He starts off at 180, gets 28.8 per level, and ends up at 583.2, which is lower than everyone else by, I believe they're high 800s as far as mana goes. And this is where he struggles a little bit in my opinion, because he's the more mana intensive hero on the list. He does actually have the ability to get mana back, but I feel like he struggles because of his lack of mana, and maybe that's something that Epic needs to look at. Okay, next up is his basic attack, which is called Pulse Cannon. It starts at 55 damage, it gets 1.6 damage per level, the cooldown is 1.2, and his power scaling is 0.85, and this is another area where he kind of struggles. Twin Blast's power scaling is 0.8, and Murdoch's is 1. Okay, I actually struggle with Grim's auto attack. I don't know what it is. He's just one of those characters that don't gel with me. But apart from that, it's kind of a weak auto attack. The power scaling is so shit. Personally, I feel like they need to have all ranges at a 1 for scaling, all ranges with the same basic attack damage, and then tweak how much damage and attack speed they all get based on how good their kit is. His first ability that we're going to look at is Displacement Blast. Grim lobs Displacement Blast that deals ability damage in an area and knocks enemy heroes away from the center of the blast. It starts off with doing 70 damage, ends up at 210. The power scaling is 0.5, so you get 50 damage per 100 power. The mana cost starts at 75 and ends up at a whopping 120 for what it is. The cooldown starts at 21 seconds and ends up at 9. Now these cooldowns have been adjusted, so tier 1, 2 and 3 are actually quicker to get them back, and it ends up the same at tier 4. It's a very, very finicky ability. It can be kind of hard to land exactly where you want. Even the best of Grim players will miss from time to time, and even if you don't miss, it has a weird way of just knocking people in a different direction than what you actually intended. Next up we have Deflector Shield. Grim.exe activates a Deflector Shield that lasts a few seconds and blocks the next incoming ability. If the block is successful, he gains a percentage of his missing mana. The mana cost is 25, the cooldown starts at 16 and ends up at 10 seconds. Once activated, you have 1 second to soak up an ability, and the mana gain that you get at level 1 is 25% of your mana, and at level 4 is 70% of your mana, so it's a great way to get mana back. It's actually missing mana though, so you don't get 70% of your total mana pool back, you get 70% of what is missing back. It's a very, very good ability. It can block pretty much everything, actually can block everything. Grux pulls, steel ults. It's very good when 1v1ing a Sparrow, just walking into her hail of arrows. It can also, if timed correctly, negate Aurora's ultimate. It's a very, very good ability and one that you should take early on. Next up we have Suppression Mode. Grim toggles Suppression Mode, modifying his Pulse Cannon to apply a slow on hit. The mana per attack costs 12 at level 1 and 30 at level 4. The slow starts at 100 and ends up at 160, which is nothing to turn your nose up at. That is a great way to continue to chase someone down. The cooldown is 1 second, so you're, which means that you can actually attack quicker than your basic attack. And the movement slow is listed as a question mark because it's a bit weird. It doesn't always seem to be the same amount of time, but it's kind of around about a second. It's a really good ability, like I said, for chasing people down or allowing your teammates to catch up if the two of you are actually running away and your teammates are giving chase. Apart from that, it costs a lot of mana. It's freaking ridiculous. You pretty much, with no extra mana on your build, you get 10 shots. Next up, we have his ultimate, which is GTFO. You all know what that stands for. Grim locks onto an enemy hero. After a short charge up, he fires a high damage gyro targeted force orb that homes to the target. The GTFO passes through geometry and non-hero units, so it will pass through the environment, any part of the environment, and it'll pass through minions, and it'll pass through towers. Okay, it will get soaked up by other heroes. The ability damage that it does starts at 210 and ends up at 360. The mana cost is 75, which is good for the amount of damage you can do. The power scaling is 1.1, which is great. And the cooldown starts at 100 seconds and ends up at 70 seconds. You can do a lot of damage with this ability. It is kind of annoying that they changed it so that once it is toggled on, you can no longer move. It can be a bit frustrating if they just get around the corner as you press your triangle or your R, but like I said, it's a really good ability. You can do a lot of damage with it from a distance, as long as no one blocks the projectile on its way. It is a great ability. Okay, we'll quickly look at Grim's build, and then I will show you some footage of some damage numbers on this build, and then we'll talk a little bit quickly about whether he's viable or not. Okay, so here we are with the Pew Pew build, starting off with the Warlord as our prime card. Gives your minions extra damage against enemy minions, because generally if we're on a tower we're going to be attacking it, so I would rather have my minions do more damage to theirs to make sure the wave keeps pushing forward while I do damage to structures. We'll be starting off with 2 cast tokens and a health potion, but obviously if you want to start off with something different, that is all up to you. 1 cast token and a healer token would be actually a good bet. I just like to do a little bit more damage, considering his basic attack does less damage. Looking at the full build itself, we'll start off with the easy stuff. Blade of Agora as our crit bonus card with 3 minor casts. Pretty much everything else is rat shit. I wouldn't want to use it. These 2 penetration crit bonus cards are shit. I would not recommend using it. It ends up costing you way too much to get what you want. Goron's Scepter is not going to be useful, and Black Blood Virus is, once again, like the other 2, stupidly expensive. It's going to cost you around about 13. It's going to cost you 13 CP just to get 20 lifesteal, which I think is a good standard for rangers. Something they should strive for is 20 lifesteal. Okay, moving on, talking about lifesteal, I recommend Curse of the Leech with 2 drains and a minor cast. This will be giving you 12 power and 20 lifesteal. Next up we have our crit cards. So we have a Spirit of the Rift Hunter with 3 major casts and with 3 major wounds, and 1 with 2 major casts and a wound. Next up we have our Sage's Ward. And on the Sage's Ward, we'll be running 2 minor casts and a cast. The reason for the extra point on that cast is because we're 1 point missing from a 12-point card in our Spirit of the Rift Hunter, because we're running a wound instead of a major wound. So we just put that point onto our Sage's Ward because we need to put it somewhere. Now lastly is the Whirling Wand with 2 major kinetics and a major strike. It's going to give you a good amount of attack speed. It's going to take you up to 188.5%, I believe, which is beautiful amount of attack speed. I would not recommend going for any more. You go for an extra major kinetic and you're going to end up around about 200%, which is great, but you probably actually end up doing less DPS. Now we need to look at early game cards. So talking about early game cards, I originally was going for 2 Staff of Adamants, but I've decided that I might actually just start running Void Steel Daggers, because that little bit of penetration is going to add up to damage. So we'll put definitely 2 Void Steel Daggers on for our early game cards, and this is where you end up with a bit of an option as to what you do next. Okay, you can run another Void Steel Dagger, or you can run an early game crit card, run an early game Spear of the Rift Hunter with 3 minor wounds, will end up giving you 24% crit chance early on, which is quite nice, pretty much 1 in 4. Or you can run an early game attack speed card in a Whirling Wand to mimic your late game Whirling Wand by putting on 2 minor kinetics and a minor strike or minor cast. Okay, so that'll be pretty much just a weaker version of your late game Whirling Wand. Or if you want, you can, like I'm going to, just go for another Void Steel Dagger with either 3 minor casts or 3 minor strikes. Alright, so that is the full build right there, guys. It is quite good. We'll have a look right now and go on to numbers that I'm actually running. So brace yourself and we'll go and have a look at that. Okay, so I got to full build in an AI match. I went up against the All Prime at max build, and in the 20 seconds that I was attacking him, I missed 1 shot. So we haven't counted that. I've done 7 hits for 1393 damage. That's my standard hits. My crits, I landed 22, which was 10,978 damage. Over that 20 seconds, that ends up at 618.55 DPS, which is nothing to turn your nose up at, because pretty much 3 hits, 3 seconds, and anyone is dead. Which, with things like a 2-second rampage stun, that is an easy kill. So that is everything I have to say today on Grim. Apart from the fact that I don't really think he's that viable. He's decent still, like he always was. They reduce his cooldowns, that's great. Doesn't really help him that much. Even nerfing Murdoch, the small amount that they did doesn't really help him. But he's still okay. I think he's still going to end up down the bottom of the rung for Rangers in competitive. In the lower tier ELOs, he's probably going to be used a lot more, and people will probably do really, really well with him. But I still do not think he has moved out of the worst Rangers position. But that's just my opinion, guys. I would love to hear your opinions. So let me know in the comments down below, A, what you think of the build, and B, what you think about Grim after these changes. Drop me a like if you enjoyed this in any way, shape or form. Hit that dislike button if you just thought it was douchey. And subscribe for more Paragon content if you're not already. But with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I love your face, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.